And here we go. Good evening and welcome. It's 6 p.m. and I call to order the July 10th, 2025 student fees hearing for the Papillion La Vista Community Schools Board of Education. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lotus?
Here.
Ms. Butler?
Here.
Mr. Madler?
Here.
Ms. Witt?
Here. Do you have a motion for our excused absences?
I'll make a motion to excuse the absence of Ms. Wood and Mr. Bailey.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Lotus and a second by Mr. Madler. Roll call?
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Madler?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Lotus?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Please note the open meetings law is posted at the entrance to the room. Our student fees hearing the purpose is to review the amount of money collected from students pursuant to the use of waivers as provided in policy 3307. Administration will present the policy and fee recommendations followed by public questions and comments. Individuals who wish to address the board about this topic must have completed a public comment form as provided. Dr. Rickley and Ms. Siri.
Thank you very much, Ms. Witt, members of the board, and for those members of the community that may be watching at home, thank you for engaging with your school district and your Board of Education. The student fees hearing is a hearing that the school district conducts on an annual basis. Typically, we do it in July. The purpose, as Ms. Witt stated, is to look at all manner of fees. We will find that many of them, though not all of them, deal with athletics and activities at the secondary level, but there are certainly things associated with the elementary level as well. It is not necessarily an exhaustive list, but we try to make it as exhaustive as possible. Very broadly, Ms. Siri meets with the secondary principals, Mr. Richards meets with the principals. We take a look at fees from the previous year to establish a sort of baseline. We look at any types of anticipated costs with uniforms, with fees, with support activities that may impact the cost, and then we adjust the prices accordingly. As we go through the student fees presentation, Ms. Siri has a slide deck queued up for us. We'll tag team a little bit. If the fee deals most specifically with a teaching and learning program or initiative, Ms. Siri will walk us through that, and then some of those other fees such as breakfast and lunch prices, I will highlight those. I would tell the board as a disclaimer, Mr. Richards prepared some of these numbers, so if you have specific questions, Ms. Siri and I will do our best to answer them, but you may ask us a question or two that we may have to defer to Mr. Richards if we don't know the full backstory. We'll get back to you with accurate information. But without further ado, Ms. Siri, could I turn the slide deck over to you, and then when you're ready, I will pick it up from there.
Sure. Good evening, Board of Education. In your board packet is the detailed information of the fees list, and changes have been highlighted. So that's probably your easiest place to see it. As Dr. Rickley mentioned, Mr. Richards prepared some general information for us tonight, including the total number of students that have completed application for the fee waiver. Dr. Rickley, is there anything you'd like to add on this slide?
Yeah, just a quick reminder. So the waivers basically represent students that qualify for subsidized lunch, and that is a definition. Those standards aren't established by the school district. They're not even established by the state. They are established by the United States Department of Agriculture. So those are federally defined definitions. The reason why they're important for this board and for this community to consider is if you do receive subsidized meals, if you do meet those income requirements established by the federal government, we do provide a waiver for virtually all fees. So if you want to participate in something, whether it's athletics, activities, band, what have you, and you can't afford it, and we know that's a very real issue for many of our families, we will provide a waiver, i.e. pick up the tab. So that's something we're very proud of. And as always, we would encourage our families, if you qualify for free and reduced lunch, we need you to fill out that application because it does impact the school district in terms of federal reimbursement, for example. So really, really proud of being aggressive in that area. So I think what Ms. Siri has laid out for you is a bit of history that Mr. Richards prepared for us, where you can just see the number of fees, waivers that we provide every year going back to 2021. up to the present. You'll see that as a general rule, they stair step up. We did take a little bit of a backward step in 2024, took a rather significant jump from 24 to 25, from 1680 to 1911. One of the things that we know as a district is that our overall free and reduced rate hovers around 30%, and it's been increasing since the pandemic. But we also know that there are many families, particularly at the secondary level, for a variety of reasons, that don't fill out that paperwork. And again, I just really want to emphasize to families that may be listening, staff that may be listening, it is really essential that if families qualify, that they fill out that form, not only so that we can provide access to these fee waivers, but it also does come back to us in different forms of miscellaneous federal aid based on our free and reduced lunch status. So that basically just shows the student fee account. This is a subset of the overall district budget. Unlike some of our district budgets, general fund being the best example, bond fund though would be another, we do not tax for this fund. This is simply a flow through. We bring money in, so that current revenue of $887,000, that represents the total fees that come in K-12, PK-12 from our students for miscellaneous athletics activities and fund fees. The expenses then obviously represent the costs that go out the door. In a perfect world, these numbers would be absolutely the same every single year. What we're bringing in is what we're sending out. You'll see there is a little bit of a gap, approximately less than $2,000 on an almost $900,000 appropriation. That's pretty good math. But as much as possible, we want the numbers to match. So you'll see that we do maintain a little bit of a cash reserve there, $161,000 if you go back a year ago, this last year, 2024, because of the slight discrepancy between revenue and expenses on the most current fiscal year, that reserve will go up slightly. Again, just gives us a little bit of cushion in case the expenses ever outpace the revenue, but this was a really good year for us in terms of the expenses being under the revenue. Before I switch it back to Ms. Siri, soon to be Dr. Siri, don't want to put the pressure on. Don't want to put the pressure on. There may or may not be a doctoral defense tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. So, sorry, Shireen. You know that I love you, but I had to say that. So before I turn it back over to Shireen, one of the things that I know the board pays a lot of attention to is the breakfast and lunch prices. Went up a nickel. I believe we have gone up a nickel twice in the last 3 years. We really try not to adjust that unless we absolutely must. The price differential, if it does go up, it's almost always a function of commodity prices. Now, we do qualify for some federal commodities, but some products, milk, bread, certain types of pastas, things that raw ingredients that go into our menu, those are commodities that we really just don't have much control over. And if you've done grocery shopping, and I know we all have, we know that as grocery prices go up, for your household budget, that impacts our school budget as well. So we don't love ever making an adjustment upward on our breakfast and lunch prices, but we feel like that nickel price is pretty modest and hopefully for most families is doable. The one thing that I would add is every single year Ms. Danker and Mr. Richards look at our breakfast and lunch prices to see how we compare across the metro. We're never high, we're never low, we always aim to be someplace in the middle. So you'll probably be able to find a couple of school districts in the Omaha area that are slightly higher, some slightly lower, but we like being right there in the middle. So the last thing I guess I would highlight besides meal prices before I turn it back over to Shireen with some of the teaching and learning initiatives, that ESU 3 increase, I think that went up from, I believe that was $450 to $475 perhaps. That's a number, to be perfectly frank, that we don't spend a lot of time looking at because it's not a district program. And many of our students that opt into driver's ed, it is not a required course, of course, but many of our students choose to go through private providers. Green Cross does a driver's ed program. Cornhusker Driving School does a driver's ed program. So we certainly support what ESU 3 is doing, but that is not a Papua La Vista program. And I think that price is probably pretty consistent with some of the other programs we see across the metro. So I'd happily entertain any questions through that second bullet. Otherwise, Shireen, if you want to take some of those other program prices, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So what you see on the slide, Mr. Richards prepared, this is kind of the high-level changes. In your packet, you'll notice that it's broke out by level, elementary, middle, and high school. Things that are highlighted are a change, but he captured it here kind of broad and high level. The first thing is we are going to increase the school-owned instruments. Families paid $50 to use those. We're going to charge $75. Part of that has to do with maintenance cost as well as cleaning. The instruments have to be cleaned each time, and there's been an increase in that. So that's a consideration for us. ROTC uniforms, we are saying that it will not exceed $300, but that is a change. We're talking about club shirts, adding teams, activities, those types of things. They will not exceed $30. There's quite a range there depending upon what the activity is, but none of them will go beyond $30 for those events. The academy, so HSA specifically, our health academy and our zoo academy, those students are required to have some additional testing, usually in the area of TB or drug testing at the hospital. So that's a fee that students have to pay to participate in that program. And obviously students that have a waiver, we cover as a district. But that is a change in the past. Part of that has been covered by those, but that pass now is being passed on to the district, so on to the student. Graduation cap and gown fees are going to be $65. That's for both high schools to hold that consistent. And AP testing, we're going to just blanket say that it will match with the College Board. The College Board controls the cost of the test for our advanced placement courses, and to be honest, sometimes it's different by test, depending upon what the class is, semester, year, and so on. So we're just going to use the language that'll match what the College Board sets it, because we have no control over it. And then the last thing that he wanted to note is that for families that are wanting to pay their fees with the online module or the service, the same service we use for lunch, there's a fee to do that, to do the online payment, and that fee would be absorbed in that process for a family if they wanted to pay electronically as opposed to sending a check to the school or vice versa. In the board packet, just a couple of things to note. Dr. Villarreal could not be here tonight because he is on vacation with his family, but he spent quite a bit of time meeting with principals. He formed a committee to really identify the supply list and get it consistent. And so that is updated and will be communicated out with parents, but that's also included for you. Not really a fee, but they are things that students need when they start school. So I just wanted to point that out to you. And then the things that Mr. Richards captured are also in there in more detail. Questions? It's because we did such a great job, Dr. Okay. Thank you.
Having no comments from the public tonight, we will close the student fees hearing at 6:13. And then we're going to move right into our regular meeting for the Board of Education. There are, communications is next. Let's have the Dr. Rickley report.
Thank you again, Ms. Witt, members of the board. Again, thank you for those members at home that may be watching and engaging with their Board of Education. Thank you, Sergeant, for being here as well, representing the Papillion Police Department. First of all, I hope everybody had a wonderful Independence Day. The fact that it fell on a Friday, so a lot of people had a long 3-day weekend. Hope everybody had a safe and relaxing day celebrating our nation's history, the birth of our nation. It's always a fun opportunity to reconnect with family, friends, neighbors, and hopefully people were safe as well as had fun. Also, just wanted to draw attention to those people that may be watching the board meeting that this is highly unusual for us to hold a board meeting on a Thursday night. We appreciate our community being open and supportive of that. Because we have some staff and board members taking some much-needed vacation, we weren't able to have a quorum, We have a 6-person board, and we need 4 board members to transact business. So as you can see here tonight, we do have the 4, but if we would have gone on our originally scheduled meeting, we would not have had a quorum, and we couldn't have done something even as simple as approving our previous meeting's minutes. So again, we probably won't get in the habit of moving the date, the time around, but we do appreciate the community understanding that we've got board members and staff that are trying to spend some time with their families, and we're very appreciative of that. Also, related to that, one of the issues that we've been tackling in recent board meetings is Elementary 17. So our new elementary school, which is the 17th elementary school, will open a year from this August, so fall of 2026. In a previous meeting, last May, we talked about both the boundaries for the new elementary school as well as potential grandfathering provisions. That is, which students will be allowed to stay at Prairie Queen, since that's the school we're trying to provide some relief to, versus which students and families would be obligated to attend the new elementary school. And if you're not aware of the new elementary school, it will be on 99th and Lincoln. It is amazing how quickly that building is coming together. So after conducting the listening sessions throughout the community, pulling together the data, I think as a board, as a district, we're probably getting very close, but we think that that's an important enough decision that we don't want to do it without having a full slate of board and district officials present. So again, with this being a little bit of an anomaly in terms of some people being out, our hope is that if we get all of our staff back for our next board meeting, that we will revisit the boundary, the grandfathering, and very likely the naming. So if you're at all curious to see what the name of the new elementary school is, tune into our next board meeting. That will be part of our deliberation, and we will take action shortly thereafter, I suspect. Summer's a great time. We're busy, even though our students and many of our teachers are gone. We concluded a successful summer school, so thanks to Miss Siri and her team for both elementary and secondary summer school. We count on our teachers a lot. We really lean on some people to give us some of their vacation back so that we can help some of our kids that need that instruction the most. So really excited about that. And during our normal summer hours, we're also continuing to chip away on development of the 2025-26 budget as well as the facilities. This is a super busy time for our facilities as we chip away at our 2023 bond initiatives. Including one project that we're particularly excited about, and that is the opening of the Young Adult Transition Program. So it's not a standalone school necessarily, but for all intents and purposes, it operates much like one. We'll have approximately 30 students there in the 18 to 21 age bracket that will have a brand spanking new building when we open up next month. And we've had a chance to visit the building a couple of times. For my money, I think it's going to be the finest facility of its type in the state. Just really excited to show that off for our community, our students, and our families. Also wanted to remind everyone, and I'm sure there'll be a collective groan coming up from the school district, the first day of school is fast approaching. It feels like once you get past that Independence Day holiday, school's just around the corner. Tuesday, August 12th, half day for most of our students. We'll talk more about that schedule as we get a little bit closer, but make sure we have that scheduled on your calendars. And the Foundation Gala is Saturday, August 16th, our back to school soiree. So very exciting things happening with our foundation. And lastly, on kind of a sad note, just wanted to remind the board and our community, we lost a member of the district family this last week. Mr. Scott Billings, who worked in our central office for several years, oversaw purchasing and procurement, passed unexpectedly. Good man, really good man, really good family. I wasn't able to attend the visitation, but Ms. Scheller and I were able to attend the funeral, and it was just pretty amazing, the number of Papillion La Vista Community Schools people that came out to support Mr. Billings and his family. So terribly sad deal. Godspeed to Mr. Billings, and thoughts and prayers for his families. And we'll just keep moving forward. And with that, Ms. Witt, I'd conclude my superintendent's report.
Thank you. Any board member reports tonight? Well, I do. So I also want to thank the board members and the district community for allowing the change in the regular meeting to accommodate those who couldn't be here. We can't carry out business without enough members in to vote, and so we needed a quorum, and thank you for that flexibility. And then on Thursday, June 26th, Lieutenant Colonel Bailey and I attended the 55th Mission Support Group Change of Command ceremony for Colonel Kalisiak our liaison with Offutt Air Force Base. The ceremony was both elegant and endearing, as his many accomplishments and accolades were presented, and they were impressive. His replacement is Colonel Mark Russell, and we look forward to meeting and introducing him to the district in the near future. And I don't know if we can put a camera on that back display of the Purple Star awards that the district has been given, but it's impressive, and it'll always be a reminder because it was Colonel Kolesiak who walked us through every single one of those events. It was pretty fabulous. Okay, on to our next agenda item then is committee reports, Building, Grounds, and Finance.
We did meet last week. We discussed, Mr. Richards went over all the student fees that we just went over in the student fees hearing. We also started the conversations around our budget for next year and that process. That's kicking off, and it's well underway with Mr. Richards and his staff, so there's more to come in probably starting next meeting or the meeting after for the full board to start talking through. And then we went through the elementary 17, the boundary conversation again, and the naming conversation, which I know the naming is on our agenda for tonight to at least start that conversation.
Thank you. Human Resources and Student Services.
We have not met since the last meeting. We will have a meeting scheduled here shortly.
And Americanism and Curriculum. We have no representative, but we have not met either. Have we, Ms. Suri? That is correct. Okay, thank you. Our next item is action items, action by consent. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the action by consent.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Madler and a second by Mr. Lotus. Roll call?
Mr. Madler,
Yes.
Ms. Witt,
Yes.
Mr. Lotus,
Yes.
Ms. Butler.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Policy 5000, students. Discussion during the subcommittee meeting will be presented by Dr. Settles.
Yes, thank you so much. We also appreciate that rather than canceling a meeting, you decided to move this so that we could continue to conduct business, including getting the 5000s finished up. So we have had no further changes since we last discussed those at the last meeting. Thank you for all the thought that went into those. I know that there was significant work done on those by multiple subcommittees, so thank you for all your work on that, and we have no further changes with it.
Any further discussion from the board on the changes to the 5000 series? Okay, I'll need a motion.
I can make the motion to accept policy 5,000 students, changes to policies 5008, 5,208, 5209, 5210, 5211, 5212, 5213, 5403, 5601, 5602, 5603, 5604, 5606, and 5610 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Madler, a second by Mr. Lotus. No further discussion. Roll call?
Ms. Witt,
Yes.
Mr. Lotus,
Yes.
Ms. Butler,
Yes.
and Mr. Madler.
Yes.
Motion
Next.
carried.
Thank you. Next item is the 2025-26 student handbooks. Dr. Settles.
Yes, thank you so much. This one, just a little bit of background on it, our school district handbooks really are intended just to convey information and explain school regulations and procedures that are necessary for the schools to run smoothly and efficiently. These handbooks are really an extension of the policies that we have in place, and they have the force and effect of board policy when they are approved by the Board of Education, which is why we are bringing this before you tonight. The handbooks are updated annually, and they're uploaded to the school and district websites. So as we get here ready to start the school year, you'll see all of those updated. As legislation or changes or new guidance is received, administration is permitted to make changes without board approval unless required by law or if it conflicts with current board policy. So I don't really have anything further on that, but I'll entertain if there's any questions.
The changes that were made in the 5000 have been reflected in there, like the cell phone policy and all those different.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. No further-
I'll make a motion to approve district handbooks for the 2025-2026 school year.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Lotus and a second by Ms. Butler. Roll call?
Mr. Lotus?
Yes.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Madler?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to discussion items, Americanism and Multiculturalism Statements of Assurance. Ms. Siri.
Yes, so each year, as you may recall, in January, we have a public hearing as part of a requirement of the Americanism law. It is also part of Rule 10, in which we take public comment, and we talk about our curriculum process and the components that, I should say, the steps that we take to ensure the components of Rule 10 are met. We are required by that law to have an additional follow-up in a public meeting that also discusses it, and that is what is happening here tonight. So this is something we do annually. Basically, I tried to capture for you, Rule 10 outlines several components that must be met by law when you're developing curriculum and delivering educational standards to students. Some of those, a lot of those honestly are we ensure are met through our toolbox process. So for example, when we go to adopt a curriculum resource or a textbook, we have a whole process in which we review those materials for biases to ensure that it is appropriate and multiculturally appropriate for our student population. That's just one example of the ways that we ensure that the resources that we are selecting match our student population. Our teachers are also involved in that process, which is critical because they are the practitioners, and that way we ensure it's timely and appropriate and that our students will relate to it. Other pieces that I just kind of picked at random, obviously Rule 10 also outlines our English language proficiency program for our English language learners. That is also outlined, and obviously Missy Jabins is our administrator that oversees that program. We have several teachers that are working to make sure that the needs of those students are met, as well as our PBIS program, which is our positive behavior intervention system, and so on. So tonight, actually what we will do is the Americanism subcommittee meeting, we regularly talk on all of these topics, and I update that subcommittee as we're going through it for each curricular area. At the end of the year, our principals sign a statement of assurance that just acknowledges the parts of Rule 10 that they are responsible to ensure are carried out in the building. For example, the Pledge of Allegiance is said, the holidays that are outlined in the law are celebrated and recognized with our students, such as Flag Day, President's Day, and so on. So they sign those and return them, and that is what I will present on record to the board tonight that will go on file. And the subcommittee has already talked about it and looked at it, and they will sign the document acknowledging that they accept the assurances. Questions or clarification that you would like on that? Each year I try to give you a different piece.
I know the toolbox process has been very successful. Curriculum has been very successful once adopted into the curriculum, and it's good to see that it's working so well. Thank you.
Well, we are very grateful for the board that you allow that. That is a cost to the district, but it's very valuable, so thank you.
I agree, yes. That's what we do here, we educate, so we have to have the best curriculum we can find. No other comments? Let's move on to American Civics subgroup. Let's see, that's the Policy 6000 instruction updates.
Okay, perfect. So tonight, I bring to you changes to the 6000 series. We've had a couple of subcommittee meetings where we focused on this, and earlier this month, I sent an email out to the entire board for your review. We have 4 policies that have minor changes that we're going to update. The first one, I have to put on my glasses because the font's so small, sorry, is 6404, and this is a very small add. This is the parent involvement policy. And as you know, with the legislative changes this year, we got very specific guidance on how student surveys should be treated by law. And Katie just presented to you the 5,000s. That was a new policy that was in there, 5213. And so the only update to this policy is simply adding reference to that policy to remind parents that student surveys also have very strict guidelines that the district follows, and the parents have rights within those guidelines. And so it's literally, just for transparency's sake, it's tying the parent involvement policy to the survey policy so that they can reference it. That's the first one. 6702 is the continuous improvement policy. This is our policy that talks about which organization we are accredited through with our continuous improvement process. This is an update. Previously, we went through Cognia. We need to update the language to reflect this past January, we were evaluated and visited by NDE and their continuous improvement process. So it's really an update of programs within the language. And then 6203 is actually an elimination of a policy. This is our previous policy when the district hosted its own driver's education program. Now we contract that out through ESU3, so it is no longer our program directly, and so we are just recommending that we eliminate that policy. And then the last one, 6901, is actually going to be a brand new policy. And so there is no procedure tonight in your documentation, because this would require the board to adopt the policy first, and then we will write the procedure of how we will implement it. But this is a new policy that was recommended by our attorneys in the area of a data breach. And so it's really about what steps would be followed if a data breach would happen. I don't know if we're lucky or unlucky, but we've already been down this road once. So for us, it would be capturing the steps and the lessons learned in our procedure, but the language there is to outline that we do have steps that we would follow if that happened again. And those are the 4 updates to policy. The rest in the table are just simply changes in language or updates in procedure.
And as a reminder, we do update through board approval all policy. Procedures are a responsibility of the superintendent and follow policy.
That's correct.
So we can have input, but it's his job to take care of that.
Correct.
Any other comments for Ms. Siri or Dr. Siri? Seeing none, we'll move on to elementary 17 naming. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Ms. Witt, members of the board. I had mentioned that at our next board meeting, we'll have a more exhaustive conversation about boundaries, grandfathering, and potential action on the naming, but we did want to start laying some of the foundation this evening. I don't want to steal any of virtual Dr. Villarreal's thunder. He couldn't be here tonight, of course, but he did do a little bit of a video intro that covers some of the information regarding our naming conventions and process. But both board subcommittees have been briefed on this process. Both board subcommittees had an opportunity to weigh in on potential names. We did some informal voting, and Dr. Villarreal will talk about that in his video voiceover. But just so that the community is aware, we use a variety of naming conventions when we look at a building. As a general rule, we do not name buildings after individuals. As a general rule, we've looked broadly at 3 thematic areas when we build a new elementary building. We look at the neighborhood, the surrounding neighborhood, for cues for possible naming potentialities for the building. We also look at if there's historical significance associated with that building. Probably a really great example would be Bell Elementary, which was named after the Bell family farm. Prairie Queen would be another recent example after the Prairie Queen Grange building. And then we have at least 2 buildings across the district that have names that have some type of patriotic or national importance. Patriot Elementary and Liberty Middle School being the 2 most recent examples. So again, I don't want to take all of the information away from Dr. Villarreal. Some of that he'll cover in his video voiceover. I believe Dr. Siri, will you please cue up the video and we'll go through or Mr. Moore, if you would be so kind. don't have anything to add, Ms. Witt, unless you have any questions from the administration. Otherwise, I would open it up for any questions that you may have.
Thank you. If the board would like to start engaging in discussion, I'll just say that attending the subcommittees, we did review these names and several others, and these were the two top choices in the subcommittee I attended. So I think both names have value, and given what we were just told, they're proud names, either one. So how does the board feel?
I can jump in. You think Dr. Villarreal was watching right now? Well, if yes, well, if you are, I appreciate you. Yeah, there is some viewership. All right, perfect. Maybe just for that video. Well, thank you, Dr. V, for putting that together and going over that for us. And hopefully you're enjoying your vacation. Yeah, same like Ms. Witt, we've gone over this now in the subcommittee meetings. We've discussed it numerous times. I like the process that the team has used to narrow down, and also involving the new principal, Ms. Thompson, in it as well, getting her feedback, since she's going to be the one that's going to be starting this thing from the ground up. So it's always great to get her feedback and understanding. I am leaning towards the Lincoln View route. I've said that in our subcommittee meeting. That's the one I prefer. I do like that we did come up with some name to differentiate it from the other Lincoln Elementaries. So yeah, I'm not sure if just Lincoln Elementary I would have been as favorable for, but Lincoln View, being the history guy, that's the one that is calling to me. So just getting my thoughts out there.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, the community should know, I mean, this is an exhaustive process. Like Dr. Villarreal stated, there were no bad ideas listed as it came to subcommittee for the first time. I mean, the list was at least almost an entire page long, if not a page in 2 columns. So lots of ideas and lots of discussion to narrow it down. Like Mr. Madler, I'm pleased, and we've done it with the prior elementaries recently, as involving the new named principal, and move things along in order to so she can establish the potential colors that they're going to use, keep the construction process going, and then obviously giving it an identity with the name. From day one, I've been calling this elementary school Granite Elementary or Granite Creek Elementary, obviously just with the proximity of the neighborhoods. But as we've kind of gone through, like Mr. Madler, Lincoln View really has kind of jumped out to me. One, for just its uniqueness. We've historically, we've done other, named buildings after the neighborhoods or surrounding areas, lakes, different things. And so it was a nice change of pace to me. But I really like the historical piece, but also tying it, one, to the geography, but back to, again, the historical, the patriotic piece with Lincoln as our capital, and just kind of tying it together in more ways than just, hey, we got to name it after the surrounding area. So just gave it a little bit more uniqueness and sound foundation.
I too like both names. I call it Granite as well. I just refer to it as that. I do kind of wish it was just Lincoln, but I understand adding the View. So I'm open to both names. I think they're great. Yeah.
People will like Terra Heights, they just call it Terra. So yeah, you can just call it Lincoln. I think, or Brian, I think that you and I both discussed with Dr. Rickley the word Turkey Road was over there, and I just don't know that Turkey might have been a good name for that school, so.
Maybe mascot.
Could be a good
There you go,
mascot.
yeah.
There you go, yeah. But that road has been, kind of erased with the construction of these different neighborhoods. I guess for me, Lincoln View is more neutral because we've combined several neighborhoods, and I like the idea of it not being tied to just one neighborhood, but all the neighborhoods that will be feeding into that school district or that building will have a home that's their own. So I am also leaning towards Lincoln View and appreciate all the effort that went into all of the different meetings and collaborations that have happened to try to come up with a good name for this new building, but I'm anxious to see it in its finality. So any other discussion right now? No? Okay, thank you. We have no public comment for today, and we have a future board calendar. July 28th, our next Board of Education meeting at 6 PM here in the central office. August 7th is the all-staff kickoff. It is moved from Warner Field to Foundation Field this year. Correct. Looking forward to that.
Knock on wood, it's going to be ready.
Yeah. I want to thank our recording secretary, Ms. Scheller, and our engineer, Mr. Moore, for their help tonight, and our meeting will adjourn at 6:46. Thanks.